Live from London, this is BBC News. The Israeli military has rescued 2 hostages held by Hamas during its raids in Rafah. This follows the Israeli strikes in southern Gaza, which have killed dozens of Palestinians.
For Mr. Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, this is something of a vindication for his point of view, which is to get the hostages back, Israel has to use force.
The marathon world record holder Kelvin Kiptum has been killed in a car accident. Hello, I'm Kylie Pentelow. Welcome to BBC News Now. 3 hours of fast-moving news, interviews and reaction. First, the Israeli military has rescued 2 of the hostages abducted by Hamas during a raid in the Gaza Strip. The release of the hostages was announced shortly after Israel carried out an intense aerial bombardment of the southern city of Rafah. Well, this was the scene after those Israeli strikes this morning. A spokesman for the Hamas-run health ministry says at least 67 Palestinians were killed. Now, around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. Let's look at some other stories making news here in the UK now. And executives at water companies could lose their bonuses in future if the firm they run causes environmental damage, like letting illegal sewage spills pollute a beach or river. Environment Secretary Stephen Barclay said it was time water company bosses took responsibility. Campaigners and opposition parties said they had been calling for restrictions on water boss bonuses for some time. A key parliamentary committee says the government's plan to send some asylum seekers to Rwanda is fundamentally incompatible with the UK's human rights safeguards. The Joint Committee on Human Rights said the legislation jeopardised the UK's international reputation. The bill will be debated in detail by the House of Lords this week and faces substantial opposition. Labour has defended standing by its candidate in the Rochdale by-election despite his remarks about Israel. Azhar Ali said sorry for reportedly saying the country had allowed the 7th of October attacks to go ahead so it could do whatever it wanted in response. Now you're live with BBC News. And the men's world marathon record holder, Kelvin Kiptum, has been killed in a car accident. The Kenyan athlete died along with his coach when their vehicle came off the road in Western Kenya late on Sunday. Kiptum set the world record in the Chicago Marathon last year with a winning time of 2 hours and 35 seconds. Well, the president of World Athletics, Sebastian Coe, described him as an incredible athlete who's left an incredible legacy. A short time ago, Jackson Tuwei, president of Athletics Kenya, gave this update. OK, Farhat Javed there in Islamabad, thank you very much. And don't forget that you can follow updates on all of our stories on our website. But for now, stay with us here on BBC News. This is BBC News, the headlines. The Israeli military has rescued 2 hostages held by Hamas during its raids in Rafah. This follows the Israeli strikes in southern Gaza, which have killed dozens of Palestinians.
For Mr. Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, this is something of a vindication for his point of view, which is to get the hostages back, Israel has to use force.
The marathon world record holder Kelvin Kiptum has been killed in a car accident. In the UK, 2 new drugs to slow the progress of Alzheimer's could be licensed within months. And the Kansas City Chiefs win the Super Bowl, beating the San Francisco 49ers by just 3 points. Let's return to our top story now, as the Israeli military has rescued 2 of the hostages abducted by Hamas during a raid in the Gaza Strip. The release of the hostages was announced shortly after Israel carried out an intense aerial bombardment of the southern city of Rafah. Well, Ava Hyman, an Israeli government spokesman, spoke to us a little earlier about the number of Palestinians that were killed during the hostage release operation. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News.
BBC News, bringing you different stories from across the UK.
Thrives.
For more stories from across the UK, head to the BBC News website.
You're live with BBC News, and some breaking news to bring you now. And the UK's former sports minister, Tracy Crouch, has announced that she will not stand in the next general election. Mrs Crouch said that she would not stand again for her Chatham and Aylesford seat. There's her resignation letter there, citing personal and positive reasons. Well, the Conservative MP said that surviving breast cancer had given her an opportunity to pause and reflect on her own personal priorities. And she says that based on that, she says she truly believes it's time to seek a new professional challenge. So that news there that the UK's former sports minister, Tracy Crouch, will not stand in the next general election. Were reunited with their families. They are said to be in good condition. It's thought to be only the second time that Israel has carried out a successful military operation to rescue hostages. You can, of course, keep up to date with what's happening on our website. We have a live there with all the latest updates. But for now, stay with us here on BBC News. Live from London, this is BBC News. 2 hostages rescued from Hamas by the Israeli military have been reunited with their families. This follows Israeli strikes in southern Gaza, which have killed dozens of Palestinians.
For Mr Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, this is something of a vindication for his point of view, which is to get the hostages back, Israel has to use force.
The marathon world record holder Kelvin Kiptum has been killed in a car accident in Kenya. Hello, I'm Kylie Pentelow. Welcome to BBC News Now. 3 hours of fast-moving news, interviews and reaction. Now, the Israeli military has rescued 2 of the hostages abducted by Hamas during a raid in the Gaza Strip. The release of the hostages was announced shortly after Israel carried out an intense aerial bombardment of the southern city of Rafah. Well, this was the scene after those Israeli strikes this morning. A spokesman for the Hamas-run health ministry says at least 67 Palestinians were killed. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. Well, let's look at some other stories making news now. The US Defense Secretary is back in hospital with symptoms that suggest he has a bladder ailment. A Pentagon statement said that he'd transferred his duties to his deputy. Late last year, Lloyd Austin was diagnosed with prostate cancer but didn't immediately inform President Biden of his condition. He apologised and said new departmental procedures were in place to avoid a similar mistake. 2 off-duty law enforcement officers have killed a woman who opened fire at a Houston megachurch on Sunday. 2 people were injured, including a child who was with the shooter. The church, formerly a sports arena, can host more than 40,000 worshippers and is led by celebrity pastor Joel Osteen. A former Deputy Prime Minister of Australia has been filmed apparently drunk lying on his back in a street in Canberra. Barnaby Joyce said the embarrassing incident happened when he fell off a plant container that he was sitting on while talking to his wife on the phone. He said his condition was the result of mixing prescription medication with alcohol. You're live with BBC News. Now, the men's world marathon record holder Kelvin Kiptum has been killed in a car accident. The Kenyan athlete died along with his coach when their vehicle came off the road in western Kenya late on Sunday. Kiptum set the world record in the Chicago Marathon last year with a winning time of 2 hours and 35 seconds. Well, the president of World Athletics, Sebastian Coe, described him as an incredible athlete who'd left an incredible legacy. Well, fellow athlete Jeffrey Kamwaro said he couldn't believe the news when he heard what had happened. in Gaza. It's all on the BBC News page. As you can see there's a live page that you can follow. And there is, of course, more on all of our stories. You can also use the BBC app to follow what is happening there. So just to reiterate that 67 people killed in Israeli strikes and 2 hostages were rescued there. Stay with us here on BBC News. This is BBC News, the headlines. 2 hostages rescued from Hamas by the Israeli military have been reunited with their families.
They are talking, they are okay, and they are a bit happy, and they are happy for being rescued. And I want to say that all the families won't stop till all the 134 hostages will be free.
Well, this follows Israeli strikes in southern Gaza, which have killed dozens of Palestinians. The marathon world record holder Kelvin Kiptum has been killed in a car accident in Kenya. Hello, I'm Kylie Pentelow. Welcome to the programme. Days after El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele was re-elected, the BBC has been granted rare access to a mega prison that has become a symbol of the president's controversial war against gang violence. The government says the facility, known as the Centre for the Confinement of Terrorism, can hold up to 40,000 inmates and has no outside recreational space. A recent Human Rights Watch report criticised widespread human rights violations, including mass arbitrary detention and ill treatment. BBC Mondo's Leah Ventas reports. Around the world and across the UK, this is BBC News. You're live with BBC News. Now, football's Africa Cup of Nations has been won by the hosts Ivory Coast. At a packed stadium in Abidjan, they came from a goal down to beat Nigeria 2-1. The winning goal was scored by Sebastian Haller. The organisers say the Cup of Nations attracted a record TV audience and produced a record number of goals. Well, live now to football journalist Osasu Aboyuwana. Thank you very much for joining us. You're in the Ivory Coast. What's the atmosphere been like there? OK, we appreciate your thoughts. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
OK, let's just bring you a reminder of our top story that the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza is saying that Israeli strikes killed 67 people in Rafah. That's as 2 Israelis were rescued there. We will also be bringing you pictures very shortly of the press conference that will be happening there. That is with UNRWA. We are awaiting that to happen. That's in Brussels. The head of the UN Palestinian Refugee Agency, UNRWA, is expected to be speaking there. You can, of course, as I said, you can follow those developments on our website. But for now, stay with us here on BBC News.
Then we went into the situation in the Middle East.
Hello and welcome to BBC News. We're taking you straight to this live press conference in Brussels where we are hearing from EU development ministers. Let's listen in and hear what they're saying.
South part of Gaza.
But let's say
I'm going to leave that press conference now, but you can follow updates from that press conference focusing on UNRWA and those Gaza refugees. It's all on the live pages on our website. Well, let's just give you a bit of a recap there of what we heard in that press conference. We first heard from the EU's Borrell on UNRWA, and he was saying that to discontinue the support to UNRWA would mean a greater humanitarian disaster in Gaza, and it should be avoided. Then we followed with the Belgian Development Minister, Caroline Gennes. She was saying that there needs to be full transparency in any investigation. Now, she is talking about the agency that announced the sacking of several of its staff back in last month, at the end of last month, over allegations that they were involved in the 7th of October Hamas attack. So she was saying that there needs to be full transparency. Then Philippe Lazzarini said that it was he was deciding whether they would be able to operate in Gaza. So that's the latest there from that press conference. And earlier today, the UK's Foreign Secretary, Lord Cameron, warned against a planned Israeli invasion of Rafah, which is providing refuge to more than half of Gaza's 2.3 million population. We'll have to leave it there. Hussam Zomlot, thank you very much for coming in. Now stay with us here on BBC News.
Now on BBC News, the latest business news from across the globe. World Business Report.
A body blow for Body Shop. The company's UK operation looks set to appoint administrators. US stock markets hit record highs. We'll find out why and what it means for the world's biggest economy. Hello there, welcome to the programme. I'm Egon Cossou. Well, it was once a magnet for shoppers looking for ethical beauty products on the high street. Now, though, Body Shop's UK operation looks set to appoint administrators. Now, that could mean shops closing and jobs being lost. It comes after Body Shop's new owner sold most of the operation in Europe and Asia. Now, at the start of the year, Body Shop operated 3,000 stores in 70 countries. Well, let's find out more on this with the retail analyst, Mark Pilkington, who joined us now. Mark, good to see you. I want to start out with a very simple and obvious question. What has gone wrong for Body Shop? Sarah Brown there, ending the programme. Stay tuned. Sport is next.
Hello from the BBC Sports Centre, I'm Jane Dougal. The party's probably still going in Las Vegas after this year's Super Bowl, as more than 100 million are thought to have watched the Kansas City Chiefs beat the San Francisco 49ers in overtime to win their third title in 5 years. More on that incredible story on the BBC Sport website. That's it for now though. Kylie.
Jane, thank you very much. Now, Charles Darwin was born on this day 215 years ago, which is why the 12th of February is marked by those in the know as Darwin Day. Now, we're still learning about him. Details of the thousands of books he consulted in his life have just been revealed, and he is still inspiring voyages of discovery. Well, 200 young conservation leaders are currently on a 2-year trip following Darwin's famous HMS Beagle route. Well, to hear more about this, Stuart McPherson is founder of Darwin 200 Project, and he joins me now from Chile. You're on the boat then. Stuart, how's it going? Yeah, fantastic. And a great day to remember all the work too. Stuart McPherson, we appreciate your time there and very thankful that that connection stayed with us while you were on the boat there.
Thank you.
You can check out all of our stories on our website. That's it from me, but for now, stay with us here on BBC News. Thank you.
Hello there, good afternoon. Some showers towards the northwest of the UK.